Hey there, garden friends. Welcome back to Botanic Haven, your go-to channel for all things gardening, plant care, and creating beautiful green spaces both indoors and out. I'm so glad you're here today because I want to talk about something that's been on my mind lately, and I know it's probably been on yours too. It's mid-February, and maybe you're thinking you've missed the boat on starting seeds this year. Maybe you got busy with life, or the winter was just too cold and dreary to think about gardening, or perhaps you're just now getting excited about growing your own food and flowers. Well, I've got some fantastic news for you. It's absolutely not too late. In fact, there are at least 20 different seeds you can start right now after February 15th. That will give you a strong, beautiful harvest this season. So grab a cup of coffee or tea, settle in, and let me share what I've learned over the years about late winter and early spring planting. I remember when I first started gardening seriously, I had this rigid mindset that everything had to be started at a specific time, and if I missed that window, I was doomed to failure. I'd see those seed packets with their planting dates and think, well, I'm too late now, might as well wait until next year. But then I met this wonderful gardener named Daisy at a local plant swap, and she completely changed my perspective. Daisy told me that gardening isn't about perfection or following strict timelines. It's about working with nature, understanding your climate, and being flexible. She showed me her garden, which was thriving despite her having started many of her plants weeks later than the packets recommended. That conversation opened my eyes to the reality that plants are far more forgiving than we give them credit for, and that there's a surprising amount of flexibility in when you can start seeds. Let's talk about what makes a seed suitable for starting after mid-February. The key factors are the plant's growth rate, its temperature preferences, and your local climate. Many vegetables and flowers actually prefer being started a bit later because they don't enjoy the cold soil and unpredictable weather of early spring. Some plants grow so quickly that starting them too early means they'll be ready to transplant before your garden is ready for them. Others are cool season crops that can handle a bit of frost and actually prefer the milder temperatures of late spring and early summer. Understanding these characteristics helps you make smart decisions about what to plant and when. Now I'm going to walk you through 20 different seeds that are perfect for starting after February 15th, and I'll explain why each one works so well with this timing. First up, let's talk about tomatoes. I know what you're thinking. Aren't tomatoes supposed to be started super early? Well, yes and no. If you're in a northern climate with a short growing season, sure, you want to start them early. But if you're in zones 7 through 10, starting tomatoes in late February or even early March is perfectly fine. Tomatoes need warm soil to thrive, and starting them too early can lead to leggy, stressed seedlings that struggle when transplanted. I learned this lesson the hard way when I started tomatoes in January one year, and by the time my garden was warm enough for them, they were tall, spindly, and had outgrown their containers. The tomatoes I started in late February that same year, almost as an afterthought, ended up producing far better than the early ones. They were stockier, healthier, and handled the transition to the garden beautifully. So if you're itching to grow tomatoes and you're just getting started now, don't worry one bit. Peppers are another fantastic choice for late February planting. Whether you're growing sweet bell peppers, hot jalapenos, or those gorgeous colourful varieties, peppers actually benefit from being started a bit later than you might think. They're even more heat-loving than tomatoes and really despise cold soil. Starting peppers now means they'll be the perfect size for transplanting when your soil has truly warmed up, usually around late May or early June, depending on your location. I've grown peppers for years, and I've found that the ones started in late winter consistently outperform those started in early winter. They establish faster, produce earlier, and seem to have fewer pest problems. My friend Oliver, who grows peppers commercially, swears by this timing and says it's one of the secrets to his success. If this guide has helped you, write 1 in the comments. And if not, write 0. This way I'll know which tips are most useful for your garden. Now let's continue with our list because we've got so many more options to cover and I don't want you to miss out on any of these opportunities. Cucumbers are absolute champions when it comes to late season starting. These fast-growing vines hate cold weather and will sulk or even die if exposed to temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Starting cucumber seeds after mid-February is not only acceptable, it's actually preferable in most climates. Cucumbers germinate quickly, usually within 3 to 7 days, and they grow so rapidly that you can have them in the ground within 3 to 4 weeks of starting the seeds. I usually start my cucumbers indoors around early to mid-March, which puts them right at the perfect size for transplanting when all danger of frost has passed. The key with cucumbers is to avoid transplant shock by being gentle with their roots and making sure your soil is warm and prepared before moving them outside. Zucchini and summer squash fall into the same category as cucumbers. These are warm season crops that grow incredibly fast and produce abundantly. Starting them after February 15th gives you the advantage of timing their maturity perfectly with warm weather. I've started zucchini as late as mid-March and still had more squash than I knew what to do with by midsummer. One year, my neighbour Rose complained that her early started squash plants damped off before the weather warmed up enough to plant them outside. Meanwhile, my late started plants thrived and produced for months. The lesson here is that faster isn't always better, and sometimes patience and proper timing yield far superior results. Beans are another wonderful option, and here's something most people don't realise. Beans actually prefer being directly sown into the garden rather than started indoors. However, if you want to get a jump on the season, or you're growing a specialty variety, you can absolutely start beans indoors in late February or early March. Bush beans and pole beans both work well, and they germinate quickly and transplant easily if you're careful not to disturb their roots. I like to start beans in biodegradable pots that can go directly into the ground, which eliminates any transplant shock. Beans fix nitrogen in the soil, which means they actually improve your garden as they grow, making them doubly valuable. Lettuce and salad greens are perfect for late winter starting because they're cool season crops that actually struggle in hot weather. Starting lettuce after mid-February means you'll have beautiful, tender greens ready to harvest in late spring before the summer heat arrives. I love growing different varieties of lettuce, from crispy romaine to buttery butterhead to colourful loose-leaf types. They all germinate quickly and grow rapidly in cooler temperatures. You can succession plant lettuce every 2 weeks to ensure a continuous harvest throughout the spring. My favourite trick is to start some indoors while direct seeding others outside, which gives me lettuce at different stages and extends my harvest window. Spinach is another cool season superstar that's ideal for starting after February 15th. Spinach actually prefers cooler weather and will bolt or go to seed when temperatures consistently rise above 75 degrees. This makes late winter and early spring the perfect time to get spinach going. I found that spinach started in late February and transplanted in early to mid-spring produces the most tender, flavorful leaves. You can harvest spinach as baby greens for salads or let it mature for cooking, and either way, it's absolutely delicious and packed with nutrients. Plus, spinach is incredibly cold tolerant and can handle light frosts, which gives you flexibility in your planting schedule. Herbs are often overlooked when people think about seed starting, but many herbs are perfect for beginning after mid-February. Basil, for instance, is a warm season herb that absolutely hates cold weather. Starting basil seeds in late February or early March ensures they'll be ready to transplant when the weather is reliably warm. Basil grows quickly and produces abundantly, giving you fresh leaves all summer long. I also love starting cilantro, dill, and parsley around this time. Cilantro is particularly interesting because it prefers cooler weather, so starting it now means you'll get a good harvest before it bolts in the summer heat. Parsley is slow to germinate, but worth the wait, and starting it now means you'll have established plants by late spring. Flowers deserve just as much attention as vegetables when we're talking about late-season seed starting. Zinnias are one of my absolute favourite flowers to grow, and they're perfect for starting after February 15th. These cheerful, colourful blooms grow incredibly fast and produce abundantly from summer until the first frost. Zinnias are warm-season annuals that won't tolerate cold weather, so starting them later ensures they won't be stressed by cold temperatures. I start my zinnias indoors in early March and transplant them outside in May, and by June I have gorgeous bouquets filling my home and garden. They're also excellent for attracting pollinators, which benefits your entire garden. Marigolds are another fantastic flower choice, and they're incredibly easy to grow from seed. These tough, cheerful flowers not only add beautiful colour to your garden, but they also help repel certain pests and can improve soil health. Marigolds germinate quickly and grow rapidly, making them perfect for impatient gardeners or kids who are learning to grow plants. I like to interplant marigolds with my vegetables because they help protect against aphids and other common garden pests. Starting them after mid-February gives you perfectly sized plants to tuck into your garden beds once the weather warms up. Sunflowers are always a joy to grow, and they're absolutely suited for late season starting. These iconic flowers grow remarkably fast, with some varieties reaching several feet tall in just a few months. Sunflowers prefer warm soil and full sun, so starting them in late February or early March is ideal. You can grow giant varieties for dramatic impact, or choose smaller types that are perfect for cutting and bringing indoors. I remember one year when my friend Ivy planted sunflowers along her fence in early March, and by July she had a stunning wall of golden blooms that attracted countless bees and butterflies. The seeds from those sunflowers fed the birds all winter long, creating a beautiful cycle of life in her garden. Cosmos are delicate-looking but surprisingly tough flowers that thrive with late starting. These airy, colourful blooms add a cottage garden feel to any space and attract beneficial insects like ladybugs and lacewings. Cosmos grow quickly from seed and bloom prolifically from early summer until frost. They're also one of the easiest flowers to grow, making them perfect for beginners. I love how cosmos self-seed in the garden, coming back year after year in unexpected places and creating happy surprises. Starting them after February 15th means they'll bloom at exactly the right time to carry you through the entire growing season. Now let's talk about some vegetables that might surprise you. Beets are often overlooked as candidates for seed starting, but they actually transplant well if you're careful, and they're perfect for late winter planting. Beets prefer cooler weather and can handle light frosts, so starting them now means you'll have tender, sweet roots ready to harvest in late spring or early summer. I like to grow beets not just for the roots, but also for the greens, which are delicious in salads and sautés. The key with beets is to transplant them while they're still small, and to keep the soil consistently moist to prevent the roots from becoming woody. Carrots are typically direct sown, but if you want to experiment with container growing or getting an earlier start, you can start carrots indoors in late February using deep pots or soil blocks. The trick is to transplant them very carefully when they're still tiny to avoid damaging the developing taproot. I've had mixed results with this method, but when it works, it's magical to have fresh carrots ready to harvest weeks earlier than usual. Some shorter carrot varieties work better for this than long traditional types, so choose your seeds accordingly. Kale is a nutritional powerhouse that's incredibly easy to grow and perfect for starting after mid-February. This cold, hardy green actually tastes sweeter after exposure to frost, making it ideal for spring planting. Kale grows steadily throughout the season and provides continuous harvests if you pick leaves regularly rather than cutting the entire plant. I've found that kale started in late winter and transplanted in early spring establishes beautifully and produces tender, flavorful leaves throughout the spring and early summer. You can grow curly varieties, flat Tuscan types, or colorful ornamental kale, and all of them are both beautiful and delicious. Swiss chard is another leafy green that deserves more attention. This versatile vegetable comes in stunning colors, from bright red to golden yellow to classic white, and the plants are as ornamental as they are productive. Chard is remarkably heat-tolerant for a leafy green, which means plants started now will continue producing well into summer and even fall. I love growing rainbow chard because it adds beautiful color to the garden while providing nutritious greens for cooking. Chard rarely bolts, unlike spinach and lettuce, which makes it a reliable producer throughout the season. Broccoli and cauliflower might seem like early season crops, but they actually work wonderfully when started after February 15th, especially if you're aiming for a fall harvest. These cool season brassicas need time to mature but prefer cooler temperatures when they're forming their heads. Starting them now means they'll be ready to transplant in spring and will mature in early to midsummer, or you can time them for full production by starting them slightly later. I've grown beautiful broccoli heads from seeds started in March, and the key is providing consistent water and protecting the plants from cabbage worms with row covers or organic pesticides. Nasturtiums are edible flowers that add spicy, peppery flavor to salads while also serving as trap crops for aphids. These fast-growing, cheerful plants climb, trail, or form bushy mounds depending on the variety, and they bloom prolifically from early summer until frost. Nasturtiums prefer cooler weather for germination but bloom best in warm conditions, making late February perfect for starting them. I love how versatile nasturtiums are. You can eat the leaves, flowers, and even the seed pods, which taste like capers when pickled. They also attract beneficial insects and add brilliant color to any garden space. Melons might surprise you on this list, but they're actually excellent candidates for starting after mid-February. Watermelons, cantaloupes, and honeydew melons all require warm weather and a fairly long growing season. But they grow quickly once conditions are right. Starting melon seeds indoors in late February or early March gives them a head start without the risk of cold damage. The key is to wait until your soil temperature reaches at least 70 degrees before transplanting, which usually happens in late May or early June. My friend Lucas grows incredible watermelons every year by starting them indoors in early March and babying them until the weather is perfect for transplanting. His secret is using black plastic mulch to warm the soil even faster once the plants go outside. Pumpkins and winter squash are the final vegetables I want to mention, and they're perfect for late winter starting if you're dreaming of autumn harvests. These plants need a long growing season but grow incredibly fast once they get going. Starting pumpkin seeds indoors in late February or early March means you can transplant them in late spring and have gorgeous pumpkins ready for Halloween and Thanksgiving. I've grown everything from tiny decorative pumpkins to massive jack-o'-lantern types, and the satisfaction of harvesting your own pumpkin in the fall is truly special. Winter squash varieties like butternut, acorn and delicata also work beautifully with this timing and provide delicious, nutritious food that stores well into winter. The last flower I want to share is sweet peas, which are absolutely magical and perfect for late winter starting. These fragrant climbing flowers prefer cool weather and actually need a period of cold to germinate well. Starting sweet peas after mid-February in many climates gives them exactly what they need. Cool conditions for germination, followed by gradually warming temperatures as they grow. Sweet peas climb vigorously and produce masses of fragrant, colourful blooms that are perfect for cutting. I grow them up trellises and fences, and their scent fills the garden on spring evenings. They're a bit more finicky than some other flowers, but the effort is absolutely worth it. So there you have it. 20 different seeds you can start right now after February 15th that will give you a beautiful, productive garden this year. The key takeaway here is that gardening is flexible, forgiving, and more about understanding your plants and climate than following rigid rules. Don't let anyone tell you that you've missed your window or that it's too late to start. Every garden is different, every climate has its quirks, and every gardener develops their own rhythm and timing through experience. Some of my best gardening successes have come from seeds started later than recommended, simply because the timing worked better with my local conditions and the plant's needs. Remember Daisy's advice that changed my perspective. Gardening isn't about perfection, it's about working with nature and being flexible. As you start planning which of these 20 seeds you want to grow, think about your space, your climate, and what you most enjoy eating or looking at. Maybe you're dreaming of fresh tomatoes and basil for summer caprese salads, or perhaps you want armloads of zinnias and cosmos for cutting bouquets all season long. Maybe you're excited about growing your own pumpkins for fall decorating, or you want to experiment with unusual vegetables like rainbow chard and nasturtium pods. Whatever calls to you, trust that instinct and go for it. Gardening is deeply personal, and the best garden is the one that brings you joy and satisfaction. I hope this guide has inspired you to get those seeds started and to feel confident that you're absolutely not too late. Your garden is waiting for you, and these 20 seeds are ready to grow into abundant, beautiful plants that will feed and delight you throughout the season. Happy planting, friends, and I can't wait to hear about your successes. Remember to share your experiences, ask questions, and keep learning as you grow. Here's to a wonderful gardening season ahead. And remember, on Botanic Haven, we're always growing together, one seed at a time.